Alrighty, looks like we've got everyone out of the waiting room. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. As I said, my name is Maeve Stewart. I'm the Special Events Officer here at the Community Foundation, and I am the your primary contact for all things Old Bills. And this is our first ever Old Bills Finance Workshop. This workshop will be recorded and the slides will be sent out in our nonprofit newsletter, which should be landing in your inbox every Wednesday. If you're not receiving this nonprofit newsletter, please let me know. I would love to add you to our list. You can email me at mstewart@cfjacksonhole.org or give us a call. We'll remind you again, but during kind of throughout this workshop, but please make a note to confirm who your primary contact is that you specified on your Old Bills application. This person is who will receive important finance and donation related information in a separate email from the nonprofit newsletter later this week. And so please make sure that you double check your primary contact information. If you want that information changed, please be in touch with us as soon as possible. All right, moving on. So today's goal for hosting this workshop is kind of generally we get a lot of questions related to the match, donations, processing time, and we want to answer your frequently asked questions in one place and in real time. So our goal specifically for today is that you all leave knowing how to check your organization's donations during the Old Bills giving season. And as a reminder, again, the slide deck and the recording will be sent out via email after this session. I want to go ahead and also take a moment to introduce our finance team who's here on the call. Connor, Bree, and Aaron, would you just unmute yourselves and just say hello to the team here?
Okay, I can go first. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Lucens, the Chief Financial Officer at the Community Foundation. I'm looking forward to diving into all things finance with Old Bill, so thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I can jump in next. My name's Bree Fabian. I'm the finance officer at the Community Foundation. And yeah, thanks for being here. Excited to start.
Hey everyone, my name's Connor Hartnett. This will be my first Old Bills with a team. I'm the new finance associate over here at the Community Foundation, but looking forward to having a great giving season.
Awesome. Thank you, Connor, Bree, and Aaron. I just want to give you all a little bit of background on the Community Foundation's role in Old Bills before we get into some more specific details around donations and finance. You might be kind of wondering why the Community Foundation oversees all of the donations and kind of why donations go through the Community Foundation. And so just a reminder that the Community Foundation's role in Old Bills is to first work year-round to fundraise for the Old Bills matching grants, which we refer to as the match. So that's kind of soliciting donations from co-challengers throughout the entirety of the year and friends of the match throughout the giving season. We also organize, plan, and host the giving season and all of the events associated with it. So the launch party, Rubber Ducky Regatta, the Old Bills Fun Run, awards party, etc. And the Community Foundation, particularly our finance team, so a shout out to Bree, Aaron, and Connor for processing all of the gifts made during the Old Bills giving season and providing tax receipts to donors. This allows donors to contribute to as many nonprofits as they would like with a single gift during the giving season. And just kind of so you know, our finance team and our processing assistants who join us for this process over 20,000 gift designations. So it is not an easy feat. And participating organizations receive 100% of all gifts designated for them and a partial matching grant from the Community Foundation. We'll dive in on a few more details related to that partial matching grant, as I know those are definitely questions that everybody has each year. This year is the 30th anniversary of Old Bills, and to date, our community has raised over $306 million. Last year, the community gave $19.5 million in designated gifts to nonprofits, and there was a $6.6 million match pool that was shared amongst the 239 participating nonprofits. Our finance team, so who you just met, is core to making this happen, to calculating the match, that match percentage, and ensuring you get your check, which includes the amount that your organization raised during the giving season, which we refer to as your designated funds, and then also your match funds, which you pick up with your check, or you pick up your check at our awards party, which this year is on Wednesday, October 28th. All right, I'm going to pass this over to Bree, who's going to jump in on some giving season timelines.
Awesome. Thanks, Maeve, for getting the ball rolling. Okay, so the giving season. This year, it's going to run from Friday, August 14th through Friday, September 18th. The giving season ends promptly at 5 p.m. on that Friday, September 18th. The reason that we have to set a pretty strict deadline for this is because donations will just continue to come in and they'll just never stop, and processing will take us even longer. So we're pretty strict with that, and any early or late donations that we do receive, we'll be sending back to the donor. I'll touch on a few things that Maeve already mentioned. So like the beauty of the giving season of giving through Old Bills is really that donors are able to donate to as many participating nonprofits as they like via a single payment to us here at the Community Foundation. And just to note that we're going to have all the accepted organizations listed on our website and printed in a brochure for all of you all to peruse at the beginning of the giving season, mid-August. And a couple reminders, just touching on again what Maeve mentioned about the match. Throughout the giving season, anyone is able to contribute to the match, and they'll be referred to as friends of the match. That majority of that match pool is made up of our co-challengers, who are donors who give $25,000 or more, and our development team, as mentioned, works all year long to solicit these funds. Another one, Maeve already talked about this, I'll just reiterate, but it's your organization is going to receive 100% of all of the designated gifts, along with a partial match that we're going to dive into in just a little bit here. Additionally, we at the Community Foundation are going to be the ones that provide the tax receipt to donors, so you guys don't need to worry about doing that. The reason for that is because the checks or whatever form of donation is coming in, they come to us, and then that means that we'll be the ones that issue the tax receipt. And as mentioned before, we process a huge number of gift designations through Old Bills, about 20,000 or more. So please encourage your donors to donate as early as possible throughout the giving season. We do receive about 75% of our donations during that final week of the giving season, which is what leads to it taking so long for us to process. Typically about 4 weeks following the close of giving season, we're still working on processing those gifts. And yeah, if you can just remind your donors to get it in earlier, the easier it is for us and the quicker we can get those numbers to you. But just a reminder that we will have the final numbers available on the award party date, which is that October 28th. Great. And now I'll just pass it along to Erin to talk about some use of funds.
Okay. So the first mention we have on here is that organizations are expected to operate in the spirit of Old Bills, to function ethically and honestly with mutual respect. And this slide kind of distinguishes what are acceptable uses of funds for all funds, and then specifically for the matching grant funds. So for all funds raised through Old Bills may not be used for religious or political purposes, and may only be used to benefit Teton County. So this is to be used benefit Teton County for programs that take place in Teton County. The designated funds may not be used for political activity or lobbying. And yeah, so that's all within the rules and restrictions that you saw when you were applying for. So we're just reiterating them here. So it's clear as day that you know that what is restricted for the use of funds, all funds. For matching funds specifically, so matching funds cannot be endowed. They also cannot be regranted to another participating organization. And there is a requirement that these funds be used within 18 months. Now, why do we require that? We require that because it is Mr. and Mrs. Old Bill's wish that these Old Bills funds get to work in our community as soon as possible. Now, for all funds, there's no goods or services that be given to Old Bills donors. They must be 100% tax deductible. Each organization is responsible for soliciting donations on their behalf. We ask that you not reach out to co-challengers unless they're pre-existing supporters or people that you have interactions with already. These organizations should not collect contributions and pool them together and deliver them to the community foundation. Donors should mail and deliver contributions accompanied by their donation forms designating their gifts directly to the community foundation. So quickly, what are ineligible contributions? These are event proceeds, raffle proceeds, auction proceeds, membership dues, pledge payments. If you're hosting a fundraiser for your organizations and pooling the funds and then donating them, those are examples of ineligible funds. Okay, the match. This is probably the most questions that we get during Old Bills from a finance perspective is on the match. So I want to provide a little bit more information. Again, I know we've reiterated this many times, but organizations receive 100% of the contributions that donors designate to them. Our development team raises the match fund through co-challengers and through Friends of the Match throughout the year. So when we are raising that match fund, the purpose of it is to cover the 5% fee that goes to producing Old Bills, including administration, event management, all of the time for processing donations, marketing, staff time. And what that allows us to do is to make participation absolutely free for nonprofits. In addition, the 20% of that match pool is allocated to our discretionary granting program. So that includes our what was formerly known as competitive grants and is now renamed as Thrive grants. It also helps to support our micro grants and our other programs and youth philanthropy, of which nonprofits can apply for throughout the year. So for the match, the partial matching grant, again, is a partial matching grant, is provided on the first $30,000 raised by each eligible organization. It's based on the match percentage, which varies from year to year. It's not 100% dollar for dollar. In recent years, it has ranged from 45 all the way up to 74%. Which was our last year and it was our highest year. And that's applied to the first $30,000 of designated gifts per organization. So example, if your organization raises $1,000 and the match percentage is 70%, then you would receive an additional $700. Therefore, when you come to the awards celebration, you will receive a check for $1,700. Last year, the match percentage, as I mentioned, was our highest ever, was 74%. Therefore, organizations who raised that $30,000 received an additional $22,310 in matching funds. If you are applying as a fiscally sponsored organization, your fiscal sponsor receives all the funds, and it's up to your sponsor to determine how to allocate that matching grant. And then as a reminder, matching grants must be used within 18 months of receipt, and you will be responsible, each organization will be responsible for completing a financial report in next year's application on how the funds are spent. So that is matching grants, and I am now going to turn it back over to Bree.
Erin, can I pause you for 1 second there? We have one relevant question in the chat that I'd love to bring up, which is
Sure.
what is the match percentage, and should this be talked about in our marketing materials? I have donors asking about it.
Yeah.
I know you answered that, but do you have a best way to communicate that match percentage with donors and how it will be determined?
Yeah. So the match percentage does vary year to year, and it's based on that total match pool divided by the total amount that was received throughout the year designated to organizations. That is up to $30,000 per organization. So we actually won't know the match percentage until we've fully completed processing Old Bill's donations, and we don't share it until the award ceremony. So I think it's fair to talk to your donors about how there is a match pool, how it has historically ranged from 45 to 75% of that first 30,000, but you won't be able to share the match percentage until that award ceremony when we share it broadly with the community.
Thanks. Bree, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so here we are showing all the various donation forms that we are able to accept here at the Community Foundation. Credit cards are obviously a very convenient and secure option for donors, and there is a fee associated with all credit card donations. That fee is 2.4%. It's a processing fee that's applied to all credit card donations, and it is to help offset the fees that are charged to us by the credit card companies and payment processors. The fee helps reduce the cost of accepting credit card donations, but it doesn't fully cover the total processing expenses that we incur at the Community Foundation. So we actually absorb the remaining costs so that we can continue to offer this service and offer this as a payment option, since it's obviously very easy and highly used by donors. So just to emphasize that we at the Community Foundation don't keep any portion of this fee that's charged. It's all passed on to those credit card companies if any donors are asking. And then I'll jump down to the next few. So for wire transfers, DAFs, or IRA distributions and stocks, all of this, there's going to be information on our Old Bills website during giving season about how you can donate via these forms specifically. And there will be a donor form available on that Old Bills website where the donors can easily go in and designate their gift online on this donor form. And then once they fill that out completely, they'll enter all of their personal information, and then they'll get an email of our transfer memorandum to whatever email address they list in that form. So that's how that will work, and we'll have it populated and ready to go when the giving season opens on August 14th. And then jumping down here to the shopping cart, just want to talk about when we say the word shopping cart, we basically mean the cart on our Community Foundation website, not the cart that any of you nonprofits have on your personal website, but the one that we hold. And you are welcome to link our shopping cart website to your website. And that's a great way to direct your donors to say, we have a link to the Community Foundation website. Just go click on it on our website here. It just makes it super easy. If you do end up going that route, we just ask that you promptly remove that link at the end of giving season, which is 5 p.m. on September 18th. And then down to donor forms here, we, as I mentioned before, will have donor forms available on that Old Bills website when the giving season opens. And then we're also going to have physical brochures that will be available here at the Community Foundation office. And we also do a mass mailing of those brochures so that you nonprofits don't have to do that. Feel free though to come by our office and grab some brochures to take to your office or to hand out to donors. We absolutely welcome that. but please don't fill them out or pre-fill them with any donor information. We want to make sure that the donors are the ones filling out those forms. And these are going to be available in both Spanish and English. So again, we'll have those available at the Community Foundation for you to come grab when giving season opens. And then we can move on to the highlight of the workshop, which is going to be going through the contribution activity report.
Now, Bree, I just want to pause you for 1 second to answer
Oh, yeah.
Betsy's question, which I saw Erin responded to, but I just wanted to highlight that we accept all major credit cards, including Amex, and also accept debit cards. So that's something that you can all communicate with your donors. Alrighty, so contribution activity report, Bree is going to do a demo for how to download and access your contribution activity report during the giving season. But this is how you can review the donations your organization receives during the giving season. And again, the primary contacts will receive login information later this week. And the reason this is so important is because there's kind of a two-step verification that your primary contact will need to do to actually be able to log in. That's new this year. So Bree, I'll let you take it away.
Great, thanks, Maeve. Just a quick reminder about this contribution activity report is the time lag. Since it does take us a while to actually process and review all of the donations for accuracy, it certainly leads to a little bit of a longer processing time, which I am sure you're familiar with. But just a reminder that like if you have a donation that you know is coming in through old bills and you don't see it on your contribution activity report, just wait a week or two and it will likely pop up there. And if not, then we'll problem solve from there. All right. And just before I share my screen, I'm just gonna let you know that we're not doing a completely live demo of pulling the actual contribution activity report because they contain like sensitive donor and donation information. So we're just going to do a demo of the MFA login, multi-factor authentication login, and just basic portal navigation. So let me go ahead and share my screen.
And as Bree is pulling up her screen, you'll see that Connor linked to the Old Bills contribution activity guide in the chat. And this has a step-by-step kind of screenshots and is a step-by-step guide for how to go through and do this exact contribution activity report poll that Bree is demoing for us right now.
Perfect. Can you see my screen?
Yes, thanks, Bree.
Great, great. Okay, so first step is navigating to the Community Foundation website. As you can see, I'm on here. And in the upper right-hand corner, there's this login button. So you click that and go to Old Bills Contribution Activity. That's where you want to go. Your user ID will be an acronym associated with your organization. And then we can reset your password if you need, but hopefully you remember it. All right. And once you hit login, it'll take you to the two-factor authentication screen. So this is what it's going to look like. You can opt to do a text message, a phone call, or an email. And the options that are going to pop up are the phone numbers or emails that are associated with your account in our software system. And as Maeve mentioned, those numbers and emails will be associated with the primary contact or the financial contact that was listed on your old bills application for 2026. Just want to mention, feel free to share this login details with whatever appropriate staff members you want accessing this report. But we are hoping to keep the information under those primary and financial contacts whenever possible, just so we can keep it consistent and secure and clean in our database system as well. All right, so I'm going to opt for a text message and get my verification code.
And that code comes fairly quickly. We've tested it via email and cell phone. It all comes within pretty much 30 seconds, as you see here with Bree typing in her verification code.
Yeah, and then you can opt to remember the device that you're logging in on. If you do select remember this device, then you won't have to go through the multi-factor authentication again on that same device. All right, and then it brings you to this beautiful contribution activity dashboard. And on here, when you're reviewing donations during the Old Bills giving season, we recommend that you change the date range right here to the last 90 days. And then information will display here with donor information. And you can pull this contribution activity Excel report. And that's going to be the report that y'all will want to be focusing on to review donations. As I mentioned, I'm not going to actually pull it, but that's like the basic navigations. And then I do just want to note that this Excel export, once you pull it, any credit card donations will include that 2.4% credit card fee that I spoke about on the donor's total contribution amount. So in order to determine like your actual designated donations amount less the fee, we'll have to subtract that 2.4% fee from the report. And I'll just show you really quickly how you can find that information. If you go up here and you click on this highlighted section called Fund Holders, you'll click that button and it'll take you to the basic dashboard. And down here on the bottom right, we'll see this one called Fund Activity. That's where you're going to want to go. All right, and same suggestion here, change this date range to match the last 90 days. You'll have to hit submit for that date range to be effective. And then if you scroll down here under Fund Activity Summary, under Admin and Investment Fees, there will be a number and amount of the credit card fees. So if you just take that amount and subtract it from your contribution activity report, that will give you your total designated contributions less the fees. So that will probably be one of the most important steps. Great. Well, that's all I had to show in this little demo, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
And just a reminder from Bree on that, if you can also view donations from previous years via that same contribution activity report. You just need to toggle the dates differently. So you can look back, I believe it's like 1 year, 2 years. I'm not sure how off the top of my head how far back it goes. Bree, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can do a quick.
Okay, well, just so you know, there are ways to track, look at donations from previous years, especially if you're new at your organization and want to look up some of that more historical information.
Yeah, you can actually, sorry, just gonna jump in again. You can do an advanced search, which is right underneath that date range setting, and you can set specific date parameters. And so that will allow you to look back as far as you like.
Awesome. Thanks, Bree. We have had a few questions come in through the chat. I'm hoping that we can answer a few of them out loud. Bree, Aaron, or Connor, I'll let you jump in. The first question we have here is the Excel sheet the best way to export data? For example, we use Bloomerang to track our donations. Aaron, it looks like you wrote the answer here, but if you could say it out loud as well, that would be awesome.
Sure. The Excel export is the best way. If you want to upload or import that information into your CRM so you can track your donors, then that's great. And I think a lot of organizations do that because you want that information. But that is the best way to get it out of the system. It's the most complete, accurate way. And then Sarah asked that whether you send a thank you note and we let them know, and we will be sending the tax receipts, and that's correct. So all donations will be tax receipted from the Community Foundation of Jackson Hole. And you will be responsible for outreach to your donors, thanking them as you see fit.
I
Okay.
believe, just jumping in here, when you pull the contribution activity report, you'll also be able to see whether or not a donor opts in or opts out of thank you notes. We do
Mhm.
see that some donors do opt out of thank you notes, and that means that they definitely don't want a written thank you note. And it's kind of up to you to be in communication with them as to whether or not they have a preference if you were to like list them on your website or in more public facing marketing materials.
And then to the question about whether it's the full donation or the full donation less the credit card fee, the tax deductible amount that they give is that full donation grossed up by the fee. So that's what we recognize in our system as their donation. And then I would recommend booking separately credit card fees on donations received so that you have an accurate representation of what they donated. And that will get you to your net receipt for what you actually received. And then I saw there was one more question. Are they updated to the portal on an ongoing basis? Yes. So as donations come in, it goes through a process of entering and review, and it becomes available in the portal when it is what we call posted. So when it is fully entered and reviewed and verified for accuracy, then it is posted to the portal. And that happens continuously throughout the giving season. And just a reminder that the majority of our donations come in that final week after the event. And it takes us some time to catch up with them. So don't be surprised that those donations kind of continue to come in until we send out an email to all nonprofits letting you know that entry is completed. And at that time, we rely on our nonprofit partners to review their reports. And if there is something that seems inaccurate or missing, that is the best time to reach out to us, and then we can investigate further and see what we can find and resolve any discrepancies at that point prior to the distribution of the checks. It's very, very helpful to have nonprofits looking through their donations, especially at that time, throughout the giving season, but especially when we let you know it's all done.
And we've had one other question come through, which is, will there be a way to access addresses of donors in case there are donations that your organization might not have current contact information for?
Yeah, I can. Oh,
Yeah.
you want to
You
take
go, Bree. Got this.
Okay. Yes, you can access addresses of donors if they have provided it on their donor form. Then it will be available on the contribution activity report that you pull.
And Bree, can you hop in and answer the question about adding another person from the organization to access the portal? I know we've touched on this, but let's just reiterate that.
Yeah, so as far as the portal, we would prefer to keep the access information under that primary contact or the financial contact listed on your old bills application. But internally within your organization, you are welcome to share that with whoever it's deemed appropriate. Does that answer it?
Yeah, and I'd say for MFA, if you can use like a shared email address or a phone number for your organization, that will also really help to allow us to have the most accurate information that's consistent year over year. So we want to try to avoid having new information every year if possible. Understandable that there's turnover and things change, but that will allow us to make sure we still have the security in place, but we're not constantly updating information.
We have another question here of, will your shopping cart autofill with fields? Betsy, I'm not fully sure I understand your question. Are you asking whether or not the shopping cart kind of related to your organization, if that will auto-populate, or something else?
Oh, ours. So I think what you might be, so it's a dynamic search. So if you put in any portion of a nonprofit, participating nonprofit's name, it will come up with a list of all nonprofits that have that in there. So I say, don't search for Jackson or Teton County because you're going to get a lot. But if you put in a name, I mean, donor fields. So the shopping cart itself is where donors, oh, for the donor to put in their credit card information. That's the question, right, Betsy? Um, I don't know if they auto-populate from year over year. I imagine that the donor is entering that information when they enter that credit card information to check out.
Yeah, I agree. I am fairly certain that they'll have to populate it every year unless they have something saved in their personal browser.
And that is why we spend a lot of time also cleaning up the donations until you see them on your portal. We have standards in place where we make sure that abbreviations aren't used in addresses, that it's consistent across, that naming conventions are as consistent as we can make them. And really the goal is to make it as easy as possible for nonprofits to have a clean donor list. So that is part of our review and entry process.
Okay, I'm not seeing, oh, we've got another question here. How are the nonprofits listed by category or alphabetically? And I'm assuming, Sarah, that this question is about how they're listed in the shopping cart, correct? We have them listed on our webs. Okay, great. Yes. Um, you can search by field of interest, which is what each organization lists on their Old Bills application. There's 7 category options. So this would be like civic or health and human services, for example. But you can also search, you can search by this field of interest. And Erin, I'll let you jump in on whether or not you can search alphabetically.
Mhm. You can
And
search alphabetically. There's also a little like starts with, you can choose the letter you want it to start with. And as I mentioned before, it's dynamic. So as if they enter in a field, it will show them all organizations that have that word within their name.
any other finance related questions? Our team is here and happy to answer any of your questions. We'll hang out for a couple minutes after we kind of officially close the session, but feel free to keep adding your questions into the chat, and I'll go ahead and just kind of close this out with a little bit of key information. Just a reminder that we have a few important dates and deadlines related to the giving season. The giving season launch party and Rubber Ducky Regatta happens on August 14th at Russ Garriman Park. The giving season will run from Friday, August 14th through Friday, September 18th. As Bree and I have both mentioned, that September 18th it closes at 5 p.m. and closes at 5 p.m. on the dot. So there will be no more donations accepted after 5 p.m. We have a mandatory booth meeting on August 25th. Stay tuned for information coming through in the nonprofit newsletter. This is mandatory if you would like to host a booth on Run Day. Of course, we have our Old Bills Fun Run Day on Saturday, September 12th, and then our awards party where you will get your checks on Wednesday, October 28th. And then any questions that you have related to Old Bills can be directed to a number of different people here at our organization. Any donations, contribution activity report pulling, gift reports generally. You can always email donorservices@cfjacksonhole.org or give us a call at 307-739-1026. And our team will be happy to kind of triage your questions appropriately. For anything related to marketing and logos, you can reach out to Ann Bradley. And then anything related to the event specifically, general nonprofit questions, booths, etc., please reach out to me. We'll, as I said, hang out here for a couple more minutes in case you have any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask or just write in the chat. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your taking the time to learn about these processes. And we will again be sharing this slide deck and the recording of this workshop in our nonprofit newsletter and also on our website. So you can show other folks in your organization easily how to download that contribution activity report throughout the giving season.
Thank you, Maeve.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
Hey, Maeve, it's Maria, and I have a quick question for you.
Yeah, of course.
And maybe I need to direct this to Anne, but in reading the guidelines again, I just want to make sure we can send the donor cards outside of Teton County to our donors on our database outside of Teton County. Within Teton County, we can't send the donor cards, but we can just send a letter to people.
So we ask that you don't do any sort of like post holder mailings. So that means sending anything out to just like a general PO box because
Right,
we
right,
and then we also already send the brochure out to anyone who donates through
right,
Old Bills. So
right.
I don't really recommend, or we ask that you don't send anything out to your specific donors. Um, related to that donor form because they'll already be receiving that from us. But
But
let's go ahead and follow up with Anne about the specific
okay,
outside of Teton County because I'm fairly certain that we do send them outside of Teton County, but I would
right.
just like to double check
Yeah.
with her before giving you an exact answer.
Okay, I can just call her or shoot her an email then.
That'd be great. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. All right, we'll hang out here for a couple more minutes. And again, feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. Otherwise, we will just hang here for a few and you can exit and ask questions via email or give us a call. We're more than happy to answer. Thanks for joining, Erin. Thanks, Alicia. Good to see you. Thanks, Sarah. I'm glad you're able to join. Dawn, I see that you're maybe trying to connect to audio. Does that mean you might have a question? It doesn't look like you're connecting, so feel free to just write something in the chat or to shoot us an email. I know you had questions specific to what happens if there's the same primary contact associated with multiple accounts. All right, I think with that, we'll go ahead and close out this workshop. Thank you all so much for joining. We really appreciate it, and we'll make sure that all of this information and more is available on the Old Bills website and in the nonprofit newsletter. We're looking forward to giving season, so we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.